Night Dreams Talk Radio Network brings you the World Paranormal News with James Creechbaum. Now, the latest news.
I'm James Creechbaum with the Paranormal and World Changes News. Men jailed after unearthing $15 million Viking treasure in the UK. Apparently, back in 2015, they found this hoard of $15 million worth of Viking treasure, and they'd been selling a little here and there, but then I guess they got a little bit greedy and tried to sell a little bit too much to the wrong person and got caught. And unfortunately, they were cheating out the farmer whose land they found it on, and of course, the government wants their share also. So they did not like that very well, and they are facing jail, or they were jailed. Also, Android phones hacked. Hundreds of millions of cameras, GPS, microphones are affected. This just happened not too long ago, so we've always talked about beware of what you're posting and what you put on. Be careful what you're doing. And even they were hacked. So this has been happening. I think it might have happened before. Don't like it. Scary stuff. Mark of the beast, microphones, microchips to replace credit cards and car keys. This is the new thing that's coming out. It's going to be big someday. That's what they're saying. They want to replace car keys and credit cards with chips they place in your body. That was been foreseen or talked about, these kind of things, end of times and biblical terms. However, it's not going to happen to me. They're not going to put a chip in me, but that's what they're proposing in the future. Not something I'm for at all. Also, bizarre accounts of living T-Rexes have been reported throughout Texas. These little T-Rexes, they're not quite as big, but they've been reported throughout Texas within the last month or two, and it's been out there in West Texas where there's a lot of desert. And I got to tell you, that there's cryptids out there we just don't know. Now, is it T-Rexes or is it something else? I don't know, but it sure is a lot of reports of them coming in, living dinosaurs in Texas. Something to think about. And along with that comes bizarre living predator sightings of Tyrannosaurus, the bird, the dinosaur bird that's been flying around in UK. There's been several sightings of those. Now, again, could it be misidentified as because of these Earth changes of magnetic fields changing, that these other birds that aren't normal to the area flying in, like big storks or other birds, and being misidentified? I don't know, but I do know that it does happen quite often. But anyway, there's been a lot of these dinosaur birds in the UK being sighted lately. Again, there's a lot of misidentification, something to think about. And the next news break, top of the hour.
You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
That is me. I tell you what, there's a lot of sightings on the phone issue. You know what? Don't have any pictures on there you don't want people to see. In other words, if you got pictures on your phone that you don't want your family to see, don't have it, because you know what? It could go everywhere on the internet. So you got to be really careful on that stuff. It's scary because you think because you got your, gallery on your phone, right? Your pictures are safe. They're not. I mean, Google just got busted here back about 6 months ago because they were listening into people's phone conversations, or on your phone. You weren't even having to be talking to somebody, and they said they were doing it for marketing. What gives them a right to do that?
Exactly. You know how many times I've went to the store, dollar store, or wherever, and had my phone off, come home and be like, how was your visit here? I'm like, how do you know this stuff?
Yeah, and it's turned off, isn't it? Scary, isn't that, Alan?
Yeah. I mean, Big Brother, it's all part of us being singularity, and that has something to do with, maybe UFO-type civilization, Illuminati control. I remember, we had to read that a gazillion years ago, and I didn't like that novel, 1984 by Orwell, but doggone it, what he wrote, he kind of hinted at what's coming on nowadays. I mean, as far as you being tracked, you being spied upon, it's a world where they're dumbing down the populace so that they are the sheeple.
Well, people have changed. I've seen it for the last 20 years. I can say that because I'm almost 68. That's, I'm almost when they invented the wagon wheel, but at that age. But I tell you, it's scary what's going on in Washington, D.C. And the people, you know what? They don't really care. And it's what is going wrong with our society. It is so scary. Now, we were off the subject, and I'm going to get back on it. Bigfoot, Mothman, any kind of, creatures out in your neck of the woods being seen?
Not recently. My theory on Bigfoot, Sasquatch, is that it's a shapeshifter. And in other words, at one time, and, people can say, well, you stated something differently. Yeah, that book that I wrote was, a zillion years ago, and I did at that time think that Sasquatch, Bigfoot was a creature of this world. And but the more that I've gone into this, when the more that I've tied it into different types of, shape-shifting phenomena, I would say that this is either a dimensional being or some type of extraterrestrial being that can shapeshift. In other words, what does it do? In other words, its primary its primary weapon is that of fright. In other words, you see that, you're going to be frozen, you're going to there's something about occidentals when it comes to gorilla-type creature that tends to terrify a person. And that's what I think that this is. And oddly, when you do have these legit Sasquatch-type sightings, they're usually in an area where you also had some UFO sightings. Now, people are going to dismiss that and say, no, there's something on out there, and it's a different life form. Well, how come we've never got one? And I mean, why is we never found the bones of one? Why is it that a hunter, has never been able to take one on out? And of course, you have the hokum there of the gorilla beast back in the late 60s, early 70s, and that was just ballyhoo. The Sasquatch inside the freezer there. It was part rotting cow meat with costume from Planet of the Apes put into ice, and then with the freezer over it and frozen, so you really couldn't take a good look at it. And of course, that guy made a ton of money, using that at all the different sideshows throughout the USA, from Minnesota to New Mexico.
Oh, yeah. Well, why not? If somebody's going to try and make money, that's a good idea to do it. But, it gives, I don't know. It's interesting. Any type of cryptids at all in your area of anything?
Well, nothing as far as a thunderbird or a Mothman. There's one thing I'll say that that's a link to Mothman in this area, but this goes back to, I'm going to say, 1971, when UFOs. When we had UFO waves, we had some dramatic ones, be it just one UFO or two or three being seen over the area. Now, when this would happen, and the last time this event transpired would have been February 1971, you would get the telephone system knocked on out for part of Santa Fe County, part of San Miguel County. That's the county next door. So if you picked up the telephone, all you would get was wah, 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 wah. The strangest thing. Now, there's only been 2 other areas where this has happened in my research, and that was in 1967 with the Mothman sighting, and then the tragedy of the bridge, falling to pieces at Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and then in 65 with the Kecksburg, Pennsylvania UFO. And in those 2 incidents, it's just like what happened here in Santa Fe with UFO activity, with lines just going haywire. And you start to say, how could that be? Well, why not now? Was it because of fiber optics, and that's come? We don't have that kind of problem anymore? Is it a new propulsion system that these craft are using? Who knows what? But yeah, with Mothman, the legit Mothman sightings, that was linked to the Point Pleasant disaster, and I think 67 people died. What was it, November the 7th or 1967, something to that effect. And all those people on that bridge, the bridge gave way, and they were in their cars, and into the river they went.
Yeah, the support cables on the side. One of them decided the what do you call those, eye bolts or whatever it is that hold the cables. One of them snapped, and that's because before then they couldn't magnaflux metal to see how well it was poured, how well it was. One of them snapped, and then they just went like a Christmas tree, bang, 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 and then that was it. Everybody who was on that bridge was history. Scary and a bad thing to happen. But, since that happened, they really redesigned bridges to make them a lot more safer. Now, we're going to get into what your business is. I mean, what do you offer, and what is your tour, what it's all about, and what made you decide to go from acting to giving tours?
Well, actually, I still do acting, and if anybody needs an actor, I'm your man. Just get a hold of me, and be TV or film, we'll do it. Now, Australian films to American films, I do it. Now, as far as the tour business, I was doing that when I was acting, and on. And I do ghost tours, which, that they're all going to be private tours, so it's just you and your group, and we walk through the downtown Santa Fe, and we're going to pass by and through haunted areas, and you'll get the story of the ghost, but it's not going to be that this is where the ghost of Jane X or Clyde Clucks was seen. You're going to get that ghost story, but you're also going to get the history of that locale. In other words, was there a massacre here? Was there a murder here? What happened? And then also you're going to get info from my investigations at that location. And at certain places, I will show you Xerox copies, even going back to the 35mm days, of things that have been taken on my investigations or on even on my tours. Yet every now and then, sometimes people will get an apparition, a shade on my tour. And in certain areas, again, this is just rare, and even rarer at times,